So we've made it to my favorite method of making coffee, which is the V60. This is a glass V60. This one has a little tab on it that actually stops the flow. This is one optional type of V60 that exists out there. This is the most common type of V60, plastic. But really the biggest thing that you're looking for is these channels like this that help the water flow down. It helps it make just a little faster brew times. This is another V60 that's kind of a wild creation, but this is some product that comes out of China. But oddly enough, when you use this style of V60, it does not leak. You would think that the water would come out the other side of the paper filter, but it doesn't. It just goes straight down, and it's just a crazy, crazy creation. But this is a V60. The carafe beneath is less important. You can put it directly on top of a coffee mug. You can put it directly on top of a thermos if you want. Some are sold as a set, as this one I bought as a set. This is a 700 milliliter. Most of the time people are using the V60 for anywhere from 250 grams up to about 650 grams. So this is they consider this a 2 to 4 cup V60, but they make a little bigger one too. Is another option. But my favorite amount to make is 500 grams. So that's what we're going to make today. We're going to make a 500 gram V60. All right, so the first thing you need to know is how much you're going to make so that you can calculate your ratio. The ratio I like on the V60 is 1 to 15.5. That's my favorite ratio. It's a little bit odd. I kind of like it right between 15 and 16. So 500 divided by 15.5 is what we're going to do for the ratio. That means that we need 32 1/3, 32.3 grams of coffee, or somewhere between 32 and 33 grams. This is a fancy barista scale that is out there. This one has a timer on it, but a regular old kitchen scale is just fine. So for 500 grams, we're going to tear out the scale. We're going to measure between 32 and 33 grams of coffee. So I got 32.5, so I'm going to call that good. If you have a grinder, great. If you don't, just use whatever grind size you have. If you do have a grinder, shoot for a medium fine, just a little bit on the fine side of medium. So I've got my ground coffee ready, but don't put it into the V60 just yet. What we need to do is actually pre-soak the filter, and we also need to fold the filter. So this is a number 2 size V60, and it's got a little crease here that is basically like the seam. Just take that and fold it over like that, and then that kind of helps make a better cone. So you've got that crease folded over, you put it into whatever style V60 you're using, and we need to pre-wet this filter. It helps get some of the paper filter taste out. If you have a gooseneck kettle, great. If you don't, something like this works just fine. Just take it right off the boil and pre-wet your filter. I like to hit it all around. And this is also preheating your containers and your cone a little bit as well. So now be sure to throw this hot water out before you put your coffee grounds in. All right, so you've got your filter pre-wet and preheated the carafe or whatever. You've tossed that water out. Now you're ready to add the coffee grounds. At this point, you're welcome to tear out the scale, but we're going to have to tear it again back to 0. But sometimes I just tear it out just to verify how much coffee came out of my grinder. I've got 32.4, which is exactly what I'm shooting for, but somewhere between 32 and 33 grams for 500 grams of water. Now we're going to have to tear this out again. Okay, so you've got your coffee in, everything's 0, and we're going to add 500 grams of water to get that 1 to 15.5 ratio. Okay, at this point you need a timer. So some barista scales will have a timer built into them. Otherwise, just use your phone. because we're shooting for a total brew time of 3 to 4 minutes. Really, on a 500 grams of coffee, you want to land 3.5 would be ideal, maybe 4 minutes, but somewhere in there, 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, so when you're ready to start pouring, you're going to want to start the timer, but we've got 32 grams of coffee. For the bloom phase, you want to put 60 to 90 grams of water in and let it rest 30 to 45 seconds. So as soon as you're ready to start pouring, I am shooting for about 70 or so grams of water for the bloom, but you're trying to get all of the grounds wet in order to start that bloom cycle. Okay, so I'm hitting start on the timer right now. And I'm weighing out 70 or so grams of water. Okay, so now if you've got a nice fresh roast, you will see bubbling. That's CO2 coming out of the V60. And I'm waiting about 45 seconds for that full bloom phase. All right, at 45 seconds, you're going to start slowly pouring in again in circles, like a concentric circle like this. And we're going to try and hit 300 or so total grams on the scale. At 301 on the scale right now, and then we're going to let this rest just a little bit longer for the extraction. If your V60 does have one of these flappers, just always leave it open. All right, so at about 1 minute and 30, I'm going to go to 400 grams or milliliters and let it. Okay, we're going to let it sit there. And right at the 2-minute mark, you can put the rest of the water in. So we're going to go to 500 grams of water. Now, if you're, there I'm at. I overshot it a little bit, 508. But if you're using a smaller cup, like let's say you're using 200, you're shooting for 250 grams, you're going to need to slow this down a little bit. If you're doing a bigger cup, let's say 650 to 700 grams, then you're going to kind of want to do more or less a continuous pour in order to get that drawdown to come out at around that 4-minute mark. And grind size makes a huge difference. So if it's a super fine grind, it will go way slower. If it's a very coarse grind, it will go way faster. But most commercial grinds are right in that middle range, in that medium grind size, and those are about right for this V60. But if you have a grinder, I like to shoot for just a little bit on the finer side. Okay, so the drawdown is in its final steps right now. Just if you have an eye on it, just kind of keep an eye on it. We're at about 3 minutes and 50 seconds, and it's starting to slow down right now, the drip. So I am really pleased with how the timing came out on this particular brew. But, okay, so then I usually just grab this filter, transfer it over into a bowl or something, and let that cool down. And then as for this, a lot of times I will put this on a smaller bowl and let that cool off a little bit. Transfer the coffee right into a thermos. Sometimes it's interesting to measure how much you got out of that brew. It's really just a quality control just to make sure that everything makes sense. All right, yeah, so that's looking good. We got 434 grams out of a 500 gram brew, which is about what you'd want, what you would expect. Typically, if anything you're brewing, you get 80 to 85% out. So if you're doing a 500 gram brew, you should expect 80 to 85% of that out in the final amount of coffee, because that's how much just kind of stays in the brewing process, in the grounds, and gets stuck in the filter. All right. Can't wait to taste test this guy. That is the V60. This is my most common method of brewing. It's a little bit too much of a hassle for most people, but this produces my favorite ever cup of coffee. Oh, it does not disappoint. That is delicious. All right, happy brewing.